Hello everyone, welcome back to this video series wherein we are looking at the questions from SAS certification prep guide. In this video, we will see the questions from the chapter which is titled Creating and Applying User-Defined Formats. So let's see the first question. It says, if you don't specify the library is equal to option, your formats are stored in worked or formats and they exist. So let's go through the options. It says we have not specified the library is equal to option and formats are stored in work.formats catalog and how long they do exist if they are present in work.formats. So similar to how the datasets get stored in work library, formats also get stored in work library if we are not specifying an explicit library. And like how all the SAS datasets gets deleted when we close the SAS session, formats defined or stored in work library also get deleted. So let's see what all options are available. It says they exist only for the current procedure. No, they remain in entire SAS session. So this is not the correct option. And it says only for the current data step. Again, this is not the correct one. And the third option says only for the current SAS session. So when the formats are stored in work library, so they will be available only for the current session and they are not stored permanently as they are in work library. So first option seems to be the correct one. The third option seems to be the correct one. Let's see if that is the case. It says our response was correct. Let's move on to the next question. It says which of the following statements will store your formats in a permanent catalog. So by default, if you do not store the format, if you do not specify where do they get stored, so they get stored in a catalog called formats in work library. Catalog called formats in work library. So if we have to explicitly store them in a library other than work, what do we need to do is we need to define that library first with any specific name and specify that name of that library on the lib is equal to option on proc format. So we are looking for a lib name statement where the library is associated and lib is equal to option on the proc format statement. So let us go through the options. So the first option says lib name and we are creating a library named library and the path is specified and it is specified in quotes and followed by a semicolon and then proc format lib is equal to library. This syntax seems to be okay. Let's go through the other options, but before we conclude that the first option is the correct one. So the second option says libname library. So again, there is no issue with this libname statement. This is correct. But here, if we see format lib is equal to libraries is mentioned, but we do not have that proc keyword starting before it. So this is not correct for that reason. And then we have our next third option which says library is equal to. So there is an issue with the libname statement is on how we actually assign or create a library. So this is not correct for the reason that libname is not correctly defined. Similarly, on the last option also libname statement is not correctly specified. So the first option seems to be the correct one. Let us go with that and then see. It says our response is correct. Let's move on to the next question. So it says when creating a format with the value statement, the new format's name cannot end with a number, cannot end with a period, cannot end with the name, cannot be the name of a SAS format. So this is testing our understanding on the naming conventions for the formats or n format that we create using proc format. Yes, the formats cannot end with a number and then it cannot end with a period and it cannot be the name of a SAS format and one of them is also correct. So it says cannot be the name of a dataset variable. It need not be. The name of the format can be the same as the variable present in a dataset. So this option is not correct. So must be at least 2 characters long. It need not be the case. It can be at least 1 character long following the naming conventions. And the third option says must be at least 8 characters long. Again, this is not a requirement. It can vary from anywhere from 1 to 32. Again, there can be some specific cases where it can only be 1 to 31 within the format or in format naming convention, because how they store the formats and in formats, because SAS automatically uses an at the rate sign before in format, and SAS stores character formats with a dollar sign with before it. So if it is a uh, in format which is reading a character data, so it will be like two characters would be occupied. So the maximum naming convention is 32. So we'll only be left with 30 characters here for the actual name of the format or in format. So let's check the other option and then see which of this could be correct. So it says must begin with a dollar sign if used with a character variable. So if we are creating a format to use with a character variable, so as per the naming rule, so we have to specify a dollar sign before the format name. So this is the correct option. So let us see if this is the case. The last option, it says our answer was correct. Let's move on to the next question. It says which of the format procedure is written correctly. So this question is testing us our understanding on proc, how the proc format will be written. So proc format has like a format statement, proc format, and then we have a value statement, and then at the end we will have a run statement. So on the proc format statement, we can specify the library on where the formats or n formats created have to be stored using lib is equal to library. Lib is equal to the name of the lib name option. So on the value statement, so we will have to list, we will have to provide the name of the format or in format that we are creating, and then followed by the input value is equal to sign and the how the value should look like. When we should do it for all the ranges that we want to display, and then end with a semicolon. Now let us see the options provided and see which one could be correct. So the first option, it says proc format lib is equal to library. So a semicolon is missing here on the first option. And then let us take a look at the, so this is not correct because there is no semicolon between proc format and value statement. And here also a semicolon is missing after the value statement. So this could not be wrong, right, because of that reason. In the next option, so it says proc format lib is equal to library. So proc format statement is correctly defined, and then we have our value statement. So here we have the value keyword and it is ending with a semicolon at the end here. And then so we need to specify the input value followed by the output value for all the possibilities that we want to define. So the first one, they are defining 1 as red, and 2 as green, and 3 as blue. And then they have ended the semicolon and then followed by run statement. This seems to be okay, but let us take a look at the other options before we conclude. So the third option says proc format lib is equal to library, value is equal to color format. They have ended the value statement here only. So we should not put a semicolon right after the value keyword and the name of the format. We should put a semicolon only after we list all the values. So this is not correct for that reason. And then on the last option, if we see proc format lib is equal to library, value format. Okay, if we take a look at the option here, so they have put a semicolon after each of the ranges, so which is again not correct. So the semicolon would be put only after we list all the individual ranges. So here again this is not correct for that reason. So second option seems to be the correct one. So let us see if that is the case. It says our response was correct. Let's move on to the next question. So which of the following is false, which of these is false in proc format? ranges in the value statement can specify a single value like 24 or S, yes, on the which means it is testing our understanding on the creation of our value statement. So here it is saying we provide value, name of the format and in format, and how we specify the values on the left hand side of the is equal to sign. So it says first option says we can specify a single value like 24 or character S. So this is like they are not saying that it is a combination, but it on the first line it can be 24 or S. So and then on the second option they are specifying we can specify a range of numeric values as like 0 to 1500. Yes, this is allowed again. And then a range of character values such as dollar character A to character M. So which means anything which is falling in between A and M will be included. Again, this is also allowed. This is also allowed. This is also allowed. So in the last option it says a list of numeric and character values separated by commas. So we can provide a list of values, say for example S, R, T, etc. But they all have to be character or numeric. So here if we see 90 B, 180 is a numeric value, again D is character and 270 is numeric. So this is again mixing that two lists of numeric and character. So this is not correct. So this option seems to be the correct option because we are checking for which of these is false. So let us see if that is the case. It says our response was correct. Let's move on to the next question. So how many characters can be used in a variable label? So this question is testing our understanding on how many the label statement or how we assign label values. So we have certain naming conventions for or naming rules for our variable names. Similarly, we have rules for label. The only thing that is like for label it can be a maximum of 256 characters. So they have listed 40, 96, 200, 256. The correct option is 256. So let's select that and then see if it is correct or not. It says our response was correct. So let's move on to the next question. So which keyword can be used in proc format to label missing values as well as any values that are not specified in the range? Again, this is testing our understanding of the value statement and how we can specify the ranges. So there are certain keywords like low, missing, other, and underscore, same underscore, etc. So when we specify, say for example, 1 to 10, 10 to uh, 11 to 20 and 21 to 30, and if we want to assign some particular label to this, but if the value is not anywhere in between 1 to 30, if we want to include all the other variable all the other values with some other explicit text. So what we can do is we can just list that everything else. We can inform proc formats saying that if the value is not falling in any of the predefined ranges, they all of them should get a particular value. It is like your last else statement when you are trying to write your if then else condition. So that keyword is other. So we are looking for the option which has other. So let us select that and then see if this is correct or not. It says our response is uh, correct. Let's move on to the next question. So you can place the format statement in either a data step or proc step. What happens when you place the proc format statement in a data step? So it says we can use a format statement in either a data step or proc step, and what happens when you place the format statement in a data step. So when we place the format statement in a proc step, we are not actually changing anything in the dataset. We are using the dataset and outputting it in the output window or creating some other uh, dataset from those proc steps. But when we place the format statement within a data step, the formats gets associated to the variables permanently. So we are looking for that option which is related to the permanence to association of the formats with variables. Let us go through that. So the first option says temporarily associate formats. No, when we place it in a data step, they will be permanently associated unless we remove them in a subsequent step. So and the second one says permanently associates the formats with the variables. Yes, this seems to be the correct, but let's go through the uh, other options. It says you replace the original data with the format labels. So when we associate formats in a data step, we do not change the values in the original data. They get only like displayed with the format labels, but not permanently change the values in the variables values. So this is not correct. So you make the formats available to other data sets. Again, this is not the correct option. So let us see if second option is correct or not. It says our response is correct. And let's move on to the next question. It says the format job FMT was created in a format procedure. Which format statement will apply to the variable job title? So in order to link or associate a format to a particular variable, the syntax is format. So we are using the format statement and followed by the name of the variable. Here in this case, they have said job title. So this is the name of the variable, and then we should follow it with the format name. So the name of the format that they have created is job FMT. So we'll have to specify job FMT, and whenever we specify the name of the format, we should end it with a period. So here we are looking for a line which has a similar syntax here. So format, job title, job FMT. So when we are using the format, so we'll have to specify a period at the end. So, but if we do not specify a period, that's how the name of the variable and the format gets differentiated. This is a syntax rule that when you are referring a format, you will have to add a period at the end. So that's why, as part of the naming conventions for the formats creation, why we cannot use period at the end is this reason. Because if we want to use a format, we'll be able to tell only by using a period at the end of it. So on this first option, we do not have the format ending with a period at the end, so this is not correct for that reason. And then in the second option, it says format job title job fmt dot. This seems to be correct, but let's move on to the other options before we conclude. And then in the third option, it says format job title is equal to job fmt. So this is not syntactically correct. And then the last option also again is not syntactically correct. It says job title is equal to. So let us go with the option 2 and then see if this is correct. It says our response was correct. Let's move on to the next question. Which keyword, when added to the proc format statement, will display all the formats in your catalog? So when we create multiple formats within a session, and if you want to see or and store them in a particular library, if you want to see all the formats uh, created or present in a existing SAS session on a specific library and catalog, we will have to specify a option called fmtlib. So what this option on proc format statement, what this option does is it prints all the formats. Say for example, if we have created that format as like 1 is equal to red and 2 is equal to green, etc., and then one more format like a is equal to 1 and b is equal to 2. So if we had created multiple formats, so we would at one point we would be interested in seeing what are the formats that are available for us and what are the ranges and how that format is defined. So for that we need to use the option fmtlib1 proc format. So we write it like proc format. So fmtlib. So by default what this does is it prints all the formats which are present in work formats catalog. So because we are not specifying the library to look for, it is checking for the catalog named work.formats. If you want to look for formats catalog in a specific library, we can do that using lib is equal to options and provide the name of that library. So that we'll be able to see all the formats which are present in that particular library in the output window. So let us go with the option fmtlib and see how whether that is correct. It says our response is correct. Thank you for watching and keep learning.